Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to Health Oddity. This is episode 73. We join us again in the second week of January, just chatting. And that's what we do. You know, on this podcast, we like to have a good chat before we even start talking about the politics and religion and all those things we get off our chest before we even start chatting to each other and our guests. So having got all the politics out of the way, Peter, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. This one's going to be an interesting one, I think. Number one, usually James has his hammer for the what's it called? Jargon busting hammer. But I think you're going to need it today, James, to translate because we've got a Geordie and a Scouser on the podcast today. So for our American cousins, it's going to be quite difficult to understand, I think. So James and Paul might have to do a bit of translation.
Well, I think everyone managed with Finbar Toulan and Paul McElroy, so we'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
The Belfast twang.
The Belfast, yeah.
So how are you doing, Peter? You all right, though?
Yeah, I'm all right, yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm not bad. And what about you, James?
I'm very good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this podcast. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I've got Claire Booth from Strong First coming down to do a couple of workshops at Unique Results. We've got a body weight barbell 101 on Saturday, body weight 101 on Sunday, which will have happened when this goes out. So if you missed it, I'm afraid you missed it. But yeah, so good weekend coming up. So I'm feeling good.
Great. I mean, we've got David Keohan, who's in March as well. And we're all going to that one. So it's that full day, isn't it? Kettle yoga and some kettlebell sport.
Yeah, 3 hours of kettle yoga in the morning, lunch break, 3 hours of kettlebell sport in the afternoon. Yeah, I think it's 9 till 4 on a Sunday.
You're going to get us to do a 3 hour set.
I was about to say, 3 minutes is kind of a good time. But yeah, so great guest today, Shaun Jones, who I met. Well, I didn't meet. I spoke to him about 5 years ago. Gave me some advice that was really useful, and just been in my Facebook feed and my Instagram feed for years, and I've closely watched his videos. So it's a real pleasure to have him on board today, and an opportunity for you guys who are listening to really kind of hear someone who's got a great career in fitness, but also works with a variety of different people and tries to get them out of those kind of difficult situations with their fitness where they feel unmotivated, who really struggle to kind of see perspective on their well-being. And the way he talks about fitness is just really engaging, really exciting, and totally no nonsense, which is great to hear. So Shaun, thanks for coming on board today. And how are you doing?
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate that introduction. Also, for the American audience, I will try to dumb down the accent ever so slightly. It's usually what I've got to do when I go to McDonald's in New York or Las Vegas or whatever. I go, can I have a cheeseburger, please? You've got to slow it down. So I will do that a little bit. Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much. Happy to be here. I love doing little spontaneous things like this, and hopefully you can drop some knowledge bombs.
So Shaun's got a background. He runs a gym called Raise the Bar in Liverpool, and that's a predominantly PT-based gym. Am I correct?
Yeah. Sorry, did you ask to tell me then to talk about my background?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just kind of introduced your gym, which is Raise the Bar in Liverpool, and so you've got loads of PTs there, working with clients across the board.
So I've been in the personal training industry for 11 years. We got the gym, I think it was about 6 years ago now, 6.5 years ago. We started off as a big group training facility. So we had one-on-one personal trainers, but then we expanded into group training and we really pushed that to a high level. And then recently, right before the lockdowns hit, we switched back to a one-on-one personal training exclusive model. And we've just been running that since, and we're doing very well at it. And we help dozens and dozens of people every single day.
And I also noticed in your Instagram feed, physical transformation, but you've also been working with loads of other guys to transform their bodies over 12 weeks. I run a 12-week transformation program myself, but you get astonishing results, and not only in yourself, and I believe it's online as well. Am I correct? It's pretty amazing stuff you're doing.
Yeah, that's right. So I recently realized that I want to expand my mission a little bit bigger than just my gym itself. You know, for the last few years, I've been really helping other PTs build their brands, build their message. And I kind of, after going through some bad periods myself, dark times, and just getting really low and getting out of shape myself, and then coming out of that and learning kind of the lows and then appreciating the highs, going through that experience really made me once again get engaged with like a purpose of helping other men do the same. And like, so I decided to go online and, you know, start expanding the brand out a little bit. And that's what I do now personally with my own personal brand is, yeah, help men level up all aspects of their life. But it all starts with the gateway of health and fitness, of course. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
I think what I like is your honesty across the board, really. I mean, you're pretty honest about effective ways of training and where people are wasting their time. You know, you've had a really kind of over the years, you've posted some fantastic videos about kind of contemporary kind of problems that people are facing in fitness, whether it's like a celebrity talking about their fitness and saying something crazy, and you do commentary on that. But you've also talked about your kind of mental health as well. I've seen some videos where you've discussed how you feel during the lockdown and the effects it's been having, and your own kind of your battles with kind of negativity and things like that. So yeah. What's kind of brought you to this kind of way of thinking about training? Why have you become the Shaun Jones that we're talking to now? What's kind of defined you?
It's funny, isn't it? Because I think people often think whatever personal trainers, gym owners, fitness people are completely immune from any sort of adversity or like mental health issues. And I actually say that mental health and like depression, I say it very loosely because I understand it's a spectrum. And I think what I went through was more so just a byproduct of my circumstances and me losing control and me not accepting ownership, taking responsibility and just letting myself go. And then that creates the knock-on effect then. So so I think basically long story short is throughout the years of building the gym and growing it to like having to be the boss and be the owner, I lost myself along the way. I lost my sense of identity. But I think a lot of men can relate to this. Sometimes you don't know what's happening until you wake up one day and you're just like, who am I? Like, what am I doing? Like, I used to be this type of person. I used to value health and fitness and have all these hobbies and all these friends and such a social life. Now I'm a hermit. I'm out of shape. I hate myself. I've got no confidence. I've got a stutter. I developed a stutter somehow along the line. I started struggling to get my sentences out, and that's not me whatsoever. So, I kind of went through that process, but it was a very, very slow burner. And then when COVID happened, it was just about survival mode with the gym. So then it was just kind of, I had a lot of time to reflect and go, right, where am I in life? I was 32 last year. So I'm 33 now. I was 32 at the time when I started getting a bit self-reflective. And I was like, what am I doing in life? Where am I going? Like, oh my God, I've spent 10 years, going on 11 years in the personal training industry. And I feel like I've got nothing to show for it. I've got no clients. I've got this gym that just can be shut down at any time by the government, here's some scraps to pay your rent. All trainers turning against me, turning me into the enemy. And I'm a person who, we all are. We are social creatures and we all want to be loved and liked regardless, like as much as we try and deny that. So then to get turned into the enemy, and then it grows bitterness and resentment. And I think when you just start piling all this stuff on top of you, it doesn't matter what type of character or what type of person you are, like it can get to you. But for all that, I am so thankful because it's now given me the power to truly understand that, like, no matter how much of a low point you are at, you can grow from it and you can rebuild. You really can. People are at different stages, but I've trained enough people with depression and mental health over the years to understand that, like, it's just a matter of just putting one foot in front of the other and starting with yourself, just starting with your actual health, like, and getting fit again. And that's where it all started for me. My transformation, like last year, was just saying, let me actually just get control of me health again. Because drinking every night, I started, like, I hate admitting this. I've started being a bit more vocal about it, but I started smoking weed. Like, and that's not me. I've always been brought up to be anti-drugs. I've never touched anything else, but I started doing that and it started creating panic attacks, and it was just bad. And like, so I was like, let me take control of my life right now. Stop all the substances. Take control. Start putting better stuff into my body. Start putting better stuff into my mind. And then from there, it branched into the business, and then it branched into my relationships. I know I'm going on a little bit too much here. I just try and give a perspective. I know there's a lot of men out there who go through exactly the same sort of stuff. And I know that the more I've spoke about this, the more it seems to resonate with a lot of men who don't speak about this stuff. And so that's kind of like an overall big picture of what's happened in the last 12, 24 months with myself, which has all led me to, level up as a person once again, and realize that, as I said the other day in one of my posts, there will be dark days, but like, as long as you're willing to grow through those dark days, it's good, because when the dark days come back again, you'll have a reference point. Oh, right, okay, well, I'm just going through a bad time, but I know that I can get through this, because all I need to do is X, Y, Z, because that's what I've done last time to fix myself. A lot of people, I feel like they think it's out of their control, and the mountain is too big to climb. But it's really not. Like, it's just sometimes very simple solutions. It can just seem overwhelming. I don't know if that was all over the place, if that made much sense. But
no, it was great. I was just going to ask you, Shaun, was there? So obviously you found yourself in this situation, and what was the kind of the catalyst, or what was the sort of straw that broke the camel's back? Was there a moment or a time where you think, you made, obviously everything starts with kind of an awareness, and then starts with a decision to change. So when you found yourself in these dark days, what was it, or was it one, an instant that you can kind of put your finger on that said, this was when I decided enough is enough and I've got to change? And then when you decided that, what was kind of the initial, first steps, if you like, to kind of clawing your way back?
Do you know what, right? It's a really good question. And yet there was, but I've only just acknowledged it in my head right now when the actual point was. I was watching a clip. This could actually sound funny and come full circle, but I was watching a clip of Love Island from last and I can't remember what it was. I think there was a bit of drama in that. I've never actually seen a full episode, but I was watching a clip on YouTube, and the lads were in shape and all that, and I was like, maybe I should take a before picture. It was about 1 a.m. at night. I was drinking the whiskey, like sitting there just drinking, watching YouTube. I was like, right, let me take a picture, and I stood up right here with this light on, took my top off, and just recorded myself standing there, done a few poses, and then I watched it back, and I remember just feeling shame and embarrassment. I was looking at myself like, wow, because I've done martial arts all my life as well, so I was always a really good kickboxer, and I remember even at one point wanting to go professional with it before I became a student and got into personal training. The reason why I started lifting was to complement the martial arts. So I was always really athletic, and I used to be able to do all sorts of crazy kicks and that. So I've always associated the health as something, and the look and the leanness and the athleticness with me and my identity. So that once again ties into it. So then to stand up and look at myself finally objectively and just have that moment of like, what am I doing? My girlfriend was also pregnant at the time, and she was due in September. This is around March, April when I had this realization. And I looked at myself and I just felt shame. I was like, wow, you are a personal trainer, you are a gym owner, you're meant to be leading by example. So it's the easiest way to inspire other people, is to just lead by example. You cannot, you cannot lead what you do not live. And it was that moment. And then the next day I took some more before pictures. And I don't think I made immediate changes. I think I made a few dietary changes, but then once again, it was just more pictures. And like, we went to the farm one day. This is a little bit later on. But anyway, I took more pictures with my girlfriend, and I looked at myself and I was like, wow, I'm so out of shape. And I was pale and pasty, and my hairline was getting a bit thinner now that I'm 30. And I was like, oh my God. And everything felt like it was falling apart. So it was kind of like, it was like March, April time. And then that's when I was like, something needs to change. We also had Ibiza booked for my mate's stag do in August. And I knew that I couldn't go away and be in the state that I was, because I would have really felt low confidence and ashamed of myself. So,
and one of your videos that I watched actually the other day it's really interesting, because there's so much, and we can maybe touch on this, because I think it's quite an interesting point you made, that you were talking about shame and how shaming someone else is, there's so much in the media at the moment about that, trying to sort of shame people into changing. But you talked about actually shame that you felt for yourself, and how you feel that actually, for a lot of people, they need to kind of almost get to a stage where they're at that low point to actually then give them the kind of impetus to change and to make a decision to change. And you mentioned the word, I mentioned it because you mentioned the word shame when you were talking about yourself there. What role do you see that playing, I suppose, in your transformation and when you work with other men? Do you see that as being a common thread?
Yeah, that's it, James. Like, I think it's the biggest part of it. It's that there needs to come that breaking point, and the amount of men that I've worked with over the years, and it's always the same story of, I got to this point and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, wow. Or I put my swim shorts on and I was like, oh my God, look at my belly. Or I was on holiday and, I caught a glimpse of myself. It was like a lot of men seem to, they get to this, they ignore, and then get to this point of realization. And a lot of it does come back to kind of like feeling embarrassed, feeling shameful. Like it's like a sense of pride as well, because at the end of the day, you're always going to have a bit of ego, and a certain amount of our ego will be attached to our image because men value status. And that's something that we've always valued deep down, as we want to be seen as valuable in the eyes of other men and women. It's also how we've got women over the years, is making sure that we have a high status. I know this is like controversial to say these days, but like, so like your ego is also attached to it. So if you feel like you're out of shape and you've let yourself go, it can hurt your ego, hurt your pride, and you can lower your self-worth and your value in yourself. So as I said in my post, I don't believe in shaming others at all. I really don't. I believe sometimes using that tactic on yourself can be helpful, as long as you know that it's going to kick you into gear. Because if you're just continually looking at yourself and negative talking, and just talking crap about yourself and not doing anything, that's not good. Because once again, you're just lowering your self-worth even more so, and lowering your confidence. But sometimes if you say to yourself, Shaun, you look like a crap, like, and you know that it's going to kick yourself into gear and kick yourself into action, then I think it's a valuable way to get yourself motivated. I've tried the pussyfooting around a little bit in the past with men. Look, it's okay, don't worry. And unfortunately, it just doesn't really tend to work. And sometimes all they need is the little bit of a kick up the backside. Come on, wake up, like, and a little bit of a shake, like, into reality. So that's kind of the approach I'm taking right now. It walks the line a little bit, because I'm like, shame yourself. But then I'm like, obviously I don't mean it in a bad way. I am right. It's like, I want to really help men wake up. But then once you've woke up, I can walk beside you then, like, but I can't do it for you. Like, so I need you to wake up first. And sometimes it needs shock value in order to be able to wake people up from their trance-like state and their zombie-like state.
So I think often, I was just going to say, I think often things need to get, no matter whether you're looking at kind of finance or relationships or career or fitness or whatever, things for many people, things need to get to almost like a rock bottom stage, don't they? Before, like you say, that it's not necessarily even shame at that point. It's just, I'm not willing to accept this anymore. It has to get to that level where you just kind of, you're fed up, you've had enough, and you decide you're going to change. And very rarely does that happen when someone's living a moderate, comfortable life. It's usually when someone is, at their wit's end and something terrible's happened or going to happen, that they finally get that impetus. Sorry, Pete, what were you going to say, mate?
No, I was just going to say, I watched the same video this morning, actually. And like Shaun says, you're walking a thin line, because that could easily be seen as you being a nasty person and putting people down. But you actually say in the video, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like doing it for yourself. And this is where things like this become controversial, because you can be taken out of context, especially if someone just watches like a couple of minutes of that video and then goes like, I'm not watching any more of that because he's an idiot. And it's like, no, hang on, watch the rest. And it's not like you're justifying anything. It's just like, no, I'm just explaining why it works. And then, like, exactly what you just said there is, I'll walk alongside you.
Yeah. And
I'll be there for you. I'm not saying go and shame yourself, because like you've said, that can go another way, and then you can end up in depression and everything unless you do something about it. So it's a really hard topic to talk about. Like, health and fitness and everything is really hard. and to do it the way you're doing it. We were talking about this before you came on, actually, and I was saying the way you do it is really good because you're quite harsh, but you can explain why. And explain why you're doing it for what you think is the right reasons. It doesn't matter if anyone else thinks it's the right reasons or not. What you think is the right reasons, and the people who you help get the results. So I think that's brilliant. So what made you go down that route? You know, because
in all honesty, I think men need it. They need it, like they really do, because when we first done our group training program, it was all women, and then so even the language that we used to have to use in our Facebook ads, like when we worked with Dante, Paul, like we would have completely different language within the ads because women cared about completely different things. And then we realized when we used that same language with men, we weren't getting clients in. So when money's on the line as well, like the market doesn't care about your feelings. It's like, oh crap, like we're spending double amount of money and getting half the amount of leads. So it doesn't matter like what people's feelings are. We need to change our language around this in order to draw out the clients that we need, because we got bills to pay. So the language needs to change. So then we change the language into more things that men care about. And we noticed the more we were telling men to step up, wake up, dare I say, man up, they were resonating with it. And they were like, oh, we seen that ad, and I've been looking at my gut recently, and I needed to get in, so I came in, and it's the best thing I've done. So we just noticed that, like, you put two and two together, like over the years, you realize it's just kind of the language that your ideal clients are resonating with. It's like, okay, cool, and then it just reinforces itself then. And then also, you just look at like your current client base. So this is like advice that I give to PTs all the time. Is, oh, excuse me, I've just had a Pepsi Max. A bit of wind. I'm dieting right now, so I'm loading up on the Pepsi Max. So we speak to PTs all the time, and one thing that we always say is like, look within your immediate client base. It's a simple strategy. What are those clients talking about? Okay, there's your content. There's your your marketing content. So if you're training women and all the women are constantly talking about is cellulite and love handles and maybe not feeling attractive in the bikini, cool, talk about that on your social media, because your clients are directly telling you what they cared about. So there's going to be thousands of other women feeling the same. So that's something that I look at, as well as what were my male clients caring, what kept them up at night, what did they care about, what were the insecurities. Now just double down on that, because obviously your message is going to be diluted over social media as well, like over video. It might not have the same impact because a lot of energy is lost across video and across text. A lot of people don't read as well. A lot of people don't actually read Instagram captions. So like you need to kind of like double up on it almost, like to make it actually stand out. So you've got to kind of exaggerate the message a little bit or go deeper on the pain. So once again, it just reinforces itself. And then after being through the stuff myself, I just realized, is this kind of what there must be other men going through the same thing as me? Let me actually talk about it and see if there is. And then I do talk about it, and then all of a sudden, like I get more messages than ever and more sign-ups than ever. So it's like, oh yeah, men obviously do care about this stuff. It's just they stay silent on it.
So when you went, sorry, Pete, go on.
What sort of stuff are people talking about them? Because I've done some stuff on this as well, and like you get people thinking like, I feel this way and I feel down and I'm not happy about myself at the minute and blah blah. Life's really good, but for some reason there's just this low level of worry and all that sort of stuff that everything could go wrong tomorrow because I'm not happy about something. And I train guys in groups, and we talk about this stuff all the time, and it's like, everyone has the same idea, the same thoughts and the same worries, and same, like, they come up somewhere. There's no new thoughts. There's no new worries. You're not on your own. People have had them before. So what sort of stuff do you kind of see come up the most commonly in the guys you train? Just like this is mainly for for the listeners, so they can kind of maybe identify with what's going on, and then hopefully it'll make people feel better that it's not just them,
Yeah, so as I've got deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of helping men, it's almost like I'm going more away from fitness and more towards the mindset side of things. But like I've noticed a lot of men, I think the reason why they feel this like low level buzz of anxiety continuously and like maybe a lack of purpose, is because they don't have control over their lives. They don't have control over the things that really truly matter: your health, your wealth, your relationships, your freedom, your hobbies, your adventure. They don't have control over any of this. They are suppressed. And, you know, you can say, oh, society and all this, but like, that's what I'm seeing with a lot of men, is they're in debt, or they're in jobs that they severely dislike, or they have passions that they're not following, or they used to be fit and now they're not, or they don't feel attractive. The missus controls them. That's a big one as well. The missus controls them. They have no freedom, and you know the relationships aren't more equal, or they're not, like, the roles aren't defined. So there's too much crossover and too much grey area. So they're not working as a team. And I find it's the lack of control across all aspects of life, because I've tried to help men in the past get control of their fitness, and other life circumstances are getting in the way. So like relationships. The girlfriend doesn't want them to go to the gym. The girlfriend wants to have a takeaway. This happens both ways, of course, as well. Like, you know, men will obviously, we were talking about it before. We've got one of the PTs who's taking on loads of brides, and the husband's bringing takeaways home to the missus when the girls are trying to diet. So it happens both ways. But this is just my observation with the guys. So like, it's the other aspects of life that get in the way of fitness. Usually when someone's trying to go on a fitness journey, it's the fitness is the first thing to get put on the back burner when something pops up. So it's like, okay, I can give you the training plan, and I can give you the best exercises to do, and I can tell you what foods to eat. But if you've got some like key areas in life that are getting in the way, like, what good is it? You're not going to go to the gym. You're not going to listen to Shaun Jones telling you to do chest today when you've got your missus giving you loads of drama. So it's like, it's being able to have confidence in yourself to maybe, if your relationship's an issue, communicate and speak with your girlfriend or your wife, and establish new boundaries and new expectations. We went through a mentorship program a while back, and one of the biggest lessons we learned on the program, it was me and my girlfriend, because we co-own the gym together. She stepped down now, but we co-owned the gym together. And there was obviously how to run Facebook ads and how to do sales. But one of the biggest parts of it was how to manage the relationship dynamic when running a business together. And the biggest lessons that we learned is asking your wife, in order, or girlfriend, in order for me to be the best partner possible, what do I need to do for you? Like, imagine perfect world, paint the picture for me, babe. How can I be the best husband, the best boyfriend? Tell me what a day looks like. And sometimes you're not even that far away. Sometimes she might be like, oh, I just want you to ask me how my day is. Or I just want you to maybe give me a foot rub. And then vice versa as well. What do I need from my girlfriend in order for her to be the best that she can be? And we establish new expectations. And then therefore the relationship it's a bit more of a team. Now I can feel confident that I've got no drama at home, and I can go and do my chest day today. Do you know what I mean? So
that's brilliant, because some people might think, well, that's a bit weird. Why would you do that? It's like, well, what you're trying to do is guess what they want. And if you don't get it right, it's just going to get worse. Just ask.
Just ask. Simple. Exactly.
I love
but
that.
most people don't have that communication set up. It's so cliche. It's all about communication, but no one communicates. No one, and it's because of fear. Because of fear, what the other person might say. That's why. So that's the angle that I try and tackle. I'm trying to instill more confidence within men. It starts with the health and fitness, of course, but I'm trying to instill more confidence in men as themselves, as men. That, like, listen, it's okay if you need to take the lead in your relationship. That's fine. Forget what society tells you. Oh, it's sexist. Go and take the lead to sort your relationship out, because you being passive and submissive right now is not working, and you're destroying yourself. Because the problem is with a lot of men is it's like they don't even take it out on their wife or on the friends. They take it out on themselves. They eat, they smoke, they drink, they do drugs, they go and cheat, they chase escapism. And the reason why I know we do it is because I done it, because I chased the escapism because I wasn't taking control.
So drink whiskey at 1 o'clock in the morning, watching Love Island on YouTube.
Exactly. Looking at yourself going, you fat piece of... I've still got the whiskey down here as well, but I haven't touched it.
It's the same as me. I used to have a pint of lager and a load of jellied snakes.
Oh,
like 2 in the morning.
I was just going to say, Shaun, with I probably got more female members than male members, and the kind of the frustrations, I suppose, that you were talking about in terms of the loss or the loss of identity. I think it's actually a real universal issue across male and female. But you've decided to go to use to go down the male route because you're obviously male and you can empathize more with that and through your story. And there's the language that we use that's different. And I think that's what's really important, and what's really good is that it's not so much, you mentioned, being in control or losing control. And I think one of the first things that I've heard you speak about before, and I think you may have even mentioned it on this podcast, is it's actually taking that responsibility and ownership. And I've seen you speak about, not being a victim and that sort of thing before. And it's taking ownership and responsibility for your current circumstances, which will then allow you to maybe have these difficult conversations or not difficult conversations with your partner, and start to work through things. Because we say on this podcast a lot, actually getting into once you're in the gym, doing the session, that's the easiest part, isn't it? It's everything else. You're like that 1 hour, 3 or 4 or 5 days a week is the easiest part once you're there doing it. It's everything else in your life that backs up behind it that is the stuff that needs to be sorted out to enable you to get to that hour and then do the most with it.
Yeah. And it's like, I know that like you can argue, well, that's not your role. Are you playing with fire? You're not a therapist and all this type of stuff. But like, if I can just give general advice, I want to be able to help men in whatever way I can. And then also to, as you said there, you train women, and it is a universal thing, the loss of identity. It's just like, obviously men and women obviously care about different things. Like in this, day and age, some people will believe otherwise, but we are different and we do care about different things and we're motivated by different things. So it's like what do the women care about to refine their identity and their purpose again? And then what do the men need? And that's something that me and my girlfriend spoke about, is that she was always brought up to be like lady boss and, I want to be female CEO and all this. And then after she got pregnant, she started getting a little bit conflicted because she started getting feelings of, I'm looking forward to being a mum. And she really kind of, almost hated herself for it, because she's being, tough woman, lady boss, you don't need no man and all that. But we had some serious conversations during lockdown. And I was like, look, like, what's the ideal situation for you? Because the ideal situation for me is that I take on all the stress, let me work, let me look after us. And I want you to make sure our baby like gets the best shot possible. You take control of the home life. I take control of the work life. What do you think about that? And after she let her guard down, she was like, do you know what? It sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to it. I'm so excited. And since we've just established that, just traditional, that's it. But since we've established that, our relationship's been so happy, because now she's not stressing all the time. Because we used to argue like crazy over the business, and I would then doubt me decisions because I would think, well, how's it going to affect her? Like, I'm okay with taking risks, but I know she isn't. So if I make this decision and it's a risky move, is she going to be affected? Now I don't have to worry about stressing her out. She's a better person. We're happier and we're arguing less. But it just took a few difficult conversations.
Right. Difficult conversations. I've just said right, and my dog, every time I say right, my dog goes like, what we're doing? We're not doing anything, mate. Difficult conversations, right? We've said that a few times. We've said it a lot on last week's podcast as well. I think we were talking about that as well, right? So what was great there is you've just said your girlfriend wanted to be lady boss, all of that sort of stuff. But then she felt conflicted when she got pregnant. And I was thinking, how do you know that? And I know how you know that, because you'll have spoken to her about it, right? But it's like, it's one of those things. You haven't just kind of thought that and thought like, that's probably what she's feeling. You've asked her about it, right? Now, when you say difficult conversations, how difficult are these conversations actually? Is the difficulty just saying, right, let's have the conversation? Because the conversations aren't like, are they as difficult as that? Or do they actually just clear the air and then all the difficulty goes away? Because what you've just described there, it creates a very simple outcome, doesn't it? Of, right, we know where we're at now. And then you can review it, because it'll change in the future, obviously, possibly. It might not, but obviously you've got to keep on top of that. So how difficult is it? Because people will be wanting to do this, but they don't know how to go about it. And it just ends up in arguments and stuff, doesn't it? So
Yeah, you're right, actually. I don't think it was that difficult, but I guess it just depends on your relationship setup. It's obvious, it's so easy for me to say this because we'd been through, let's say relationship coaching on our mentorship. So we kind of had that agreement. Oh yeah, look, this is what our mentor was saying. And the mentorship was 42 grand for the year, by the way. So it was expensive. So when you've got that much money on the line, you better listen. You know what I mean? So it's like the information holds so much weight behind it when you've got a big investment behind it. If it's just some random scouser on a podcast saying it, whatever, what does he know? But when you're paying someone a lot of money, you'll listen a little bit more. So that, I think it was easier for us to probably have those conversations because we were invested in it. But I guess it boils down to, like, I'm just trying to not walk the line here. I think like I would just say to her, like, some people probably listen to mine and hear conversations and say, Shaun, you're sexist. But like, I know what she wants. I know she wants to feel protected. I know she wants to be provided for. I know that she just wants to be feminine and be looked after. And I know that deep down, and it's just a guard and a barriers up. So I would just start the conversation with, look, let's just imagine I'm doing 50 grand a month. I'm smashing it. I've got all this money. And you can go and get your nails painted. You can get your massages every single day. And I'd paint the picture for her just to make it the entrance to the conversation a bit easier. How would you feel about that? Would you want to work? And then she'd be like, well, no, not really. I'm like, right, okay. Well, there's the seed planted. So I'm painting the extreme picture first. If I was rich and you didn't have to work a day in your life to pay any bills, how would you feel about that? Oh yeah, I'd be made up. Okay, cool. So I know that that's kind of where we're at. But then obviously it depends what you want as a man then. So it's like, because this day and age, it's so expensive. Because if I was only earning maybe like, minimum wage, I wouldn't be able to support a household for two of us. But this is just our unique problems. So whatever, any guys listening, if they have unique problems, it's just kind of, as long as you're coming from a good place and you're showing that you're just trying to do the best thing and put the right foot forward, and look after your girl, like that's all it comes from. If they get offended at that, it's just kind of like, well, look, babe, I'm just trying to work as a team a little bit more. I want to get clear on our roles because I don't want stress. We should be working together. I guess it is hard to initiate those conversations though, especially when you have years of not communicating. We've got lads in our gym who are under the thumb and they will dare say anything like out of line to the girlfriends, out of fear of losing them. But I feel like you need the arguments. I think if you're not arguing, there's no communication. You need to have some arguments. People are afraid of arguments these days. So yeah, I don't know.
But arguments don't have to be blazing rows as well, do they?
No.
It's like it's you're talking about discussions and disagreements, not like chucking glasses at each other and smashing things off the wall and all of that, chucking your dinner at the wall and all that sort of stuff. It's like, because some people do have that and they're like, oh, we've got a great relationship because of that. And it's like, really?
Well, don't get me wrong. It used to get stressful sometimes, and she has thrown a empty toilet roll paper thing at me before. So, it has been quite heavy domestic violence. The little paper rolls like that.
Can you imagine that? Sitting in a hospital. Like, oh, what happened? Well, man, she threw a frying pan at us, honestly.
No, it was just a piece of paper toilet roll. But yeah, it gets heated. But so that's what I found is that, like, obviously we all want to be in better shape, but it's never really the gym that stops us from getting there. It's everything surrounding it. So it's like, if I can maybe instill men to improve some of those surrounding areas just by increasing the confidence a little bit themselves, then going to the gym, as you said, was it you, James, who said it? That's the easy bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the approach I'm trying to take right now.
So what does so given that you've been through COVID now, you've set your business up and it seems to be in a good shape, and you've got this other secondary business in transformations and mindset. What do you have now that's going to make you more resilient than the person you were 2 years ago, 3 years ago? What have you developed since the pandemic that you feel has created the kind of institutions that are going to weather the storm?
A few things. I think, like, first off, obviously it's my baby. Like, he's amazing. He's 15 months old now, and it's like, when you've got kids, it becomes. Have you guys got kids?
Yeah.
Got a dog.
Oh, there you go. Same thing. It becomes a necessity. It becomes necessary to succeed almost, or necessary to do well, because not only do you have to pay the bills, but obviously you've got to set a good example. And, I didn't have a great male role model in my dad. He's great. He just didn't have a great example from his dad. And, very, very tough upbringing me dad had. So I can't expect him to, magic out of nowhere being a good parent. So I want to be the one to break that cycle and set a really good, fantastic example for my little boy. So that's number one. That's the main thing that's made me more resilient. And then I think off the back end of that, the byproduct of that is that there is no choice but to, like what else? What's the other option really when you think about it? If you do not become more resilient as times become more difficult, what's the outcome? It's just go back to what I previously was in a state of doing. I seen a clip the other day of Ben Affleck talking. I didn't realize he was an alcoholic, and he was on a radio show, and they said to him, what was it that made you overcome the addiction, the alcohol addiction? And he said, what did he say? True, what was it? In order to change truly, it's all about suffering, or to overcome, that's it. To overcome addiction, you must suffer. You must experience suffering. He said, because now once he realized that like epiphany moment of like, oh, me kids, what am I doing? He said he looks back at the person he was now. He was back then drinking, and it's that much of a like despicable image. It's so undesirable, and it's like, oh, I don't want to go back there and be that person. I was suffering then. That's horrible. So like, I kind of look at it the same. It's like I either become more resilient, or if I don't, I go back to the dark times. And it's like I look at that person and I'm like, oh, I despise myself. I was low confidence. No, it's shameful. It's horrible. I was suffering then. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to suffer. So become more resilient and keep moving forward. And that's kind of the mindset that I have right now.
I think that's a good one, because there's one of those things about like people think you've got to go through, like you've got to get to a certain point to want to change, right? The pain of the pain of remaining the same has to be greater than the pain of change, which you have to get to a certain tipping point for that, which is different for everybody, right? And some people do have to suffer. I mean, if you're like alcoholic, drug addict, all that, like there's probably a point of suffering. But for people who aren't, and are just going down a dodgy route, say, or just not feeling confident, it's not necessarily suffering. It's more struggle, isn't it? You still have to struggle. You've got to struggle your way out of it. But on the other side of struggle, there's success, isn't there? That's the thing. That's the opposite to it.
Yeah. And when you talk about that there, Peter, about like, some people aren't in terrible positions. They're just maybe a little bit complacent, and they're going down like a slow decline. When you really think about it, it might be more dangerous, because it's going to take you longer to realize. Now you're going to be 40, 45, 50, 55 before you realize. Now you're even less motivated, and it's going to be harder to change because your behaviors are more ingrained, your beliefs more ingrained within you. So it's like, that's one thing I'm trying to tell people is like, look, really, I know you might not be in a terrible position. Okay, you've got a bit of a belly, you're a little bit unhappy, you're just a little bit complacent. The pain isn't too great right now. But where's that going? Where are you going to be in 10 years before you actually realize? Because the path is only you're going to end up in a bad position. So cut it off now, and start generating new habits. So then in 10 years' time, you're not that person.
Sorry.
He just said, we haven't put this into this episode yet, but what does it look like in 20 years' time? We say that every episode, because everybody we speak to says something similar to that, of like the decisions you make now don't necessarily matter tomorrow, but in 20 years' time they will.
I sent an email out today because I've been just it's January, and you get inquiries, and you also reach out to people. And on Tuesday I had 5 phone calls with prospective clients, and I've never seen so much indecision. I don't know if it's 2022. I said my email was titled 2022, the year of indecision, because everyone's thinking about stuff so much. I don't know if it's just because they spent 2 years with uncertainty has made people very, very cagey about committing to something. But in my experience, anyone who really succeeds in one of our fitness programs or in business or whatever, they make a decision. And it goes back to that question about risk. You do have to be comfortable with risk in order to be successful. But the thing is, the more you do, the more you play with risk in a sensible way, in an informed way, and the better decisions you make, the less risk it becomes.
Yeah.
You know, you become better at making decisions. And so, I mean, a lot of what you talk about in your videos is you are very direct, because you almost want to force people, the narrative, into decision making, don't you? You want to get someone to say, yes, now I will act. Yeah. Because often a lot of people are just going, yes, I feel like this. I feel like this. This is how I feel. And it never leads them to anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who are reaching out for you must be just like, I'm ready to go. Show me the way.
Yeah, I still get a lot of indecisive people though. But one thing that my mentors have taught me is, okay, you can say to them, what is it you need to think about? But really the goal of like a consultation or a sales call is to just actually get a decision. It can be a no. It can actually be a no. That's fine. Like if you no, this isn't for me. But I'm not going to sit there and wait, because the majority of the time, think about it, 9 times out of 10 it is a no. So it's just like, so I now pre-frame that at the start. Like, listen, we're going to have a consultation. We're going to have a call, blah, blah, blah. We're going to go through X, Y, Z. And then at the end, we just need a decision, because the majority of people who need to think about it don't ever actually get started. And, you know, we get quite a lot of applicants. So we just need a decision. It's either for you, but it's not. No problem. If it's a payment thing, we can work around that. We can make something suitable for you, but it's either yes or no. Because if you're indecisive now, you're probably not going to be a great client, and you're going to be indecisive about your food and whether you should go to the gym today. And we need conviction. And that's the type of people who I'm trying to attract now, is people who like are at that point of like, right, time to act with conviction and follow through. End of the road now, like that's it, end of me tether, time to change. So I think a lot of the time, you've got to a lot of the time just get people past their own BS barriers, haven't you? Like we were talking about it today, we were on a touchy word of manipulation, and it's like, manipulation is a very, very strong word, but then at the same time, it's like, is it a form of trying to sell someone a form of manipulation? It sounds so bad, but then it's like you're trying to get them over their own BS and past their own self-limiting beliefs and stories that they have ingrained in them for so many years. And it takes a lot of work sometimes to do that, and often you won't succeed. So it does border that line a little bit. So I think about that as well.
It does a little bit, but Paul's just said something about risk, right? And you can take the risk away for the person. The risk is all with you, isn't it, as the trainer? Mm-hmm. Because let's say money markets and stuff like that, you go and have some investments and all that. There's no guarantee on the outcome. It can go one way or the other. But with this stuff, you've got a load of results. You can show people those results. And you can say, this is what you get if you follow the program. If you follow the program exactly how I tell you to do it, which nobody will do anyway, but like they might do it 90%. If you do it 90% of the time, or even 80% of the time, you will get the result. There is no risk. The only risk is you not showing up. If you commit to it and you do it, there is no risk. It's a certainty. And so therefore you're taking the risk as the trainer, but people can't see that, kind of. They think they kind of think like, how can I trust you to do that?
I think the thing is though, Pete, I think a lot of people, when they start having those conversations, they know deep down that they're doubting their own conviction and their own ability to follow through, because I think they project that onto you, So it's like the old saying that, oh, I tried that diet, it didn't work. Or I tried that workout program, it didn't work. What it often means is you did it half a dozen times, then you gave up. Most people don't. If you follow something and you do it, it's like Dan John says, it's like all the guys say, any program that you follow will work, if you stick to it with conviction and if you follow it. So I think a lot of the time, the reticence to sign up and to commit it's then like Shaun said, it's trying to help people get around their own limiting beliefs, their own previous history, their own stories they're telling themselves, as I can't succeed at this because I've never succeeded at anything before. Or one of the questions we always ask when people join is, have you exercised before? Yes. How long do you usually last before you give up? Or, 2 months. And why is that? And then sometimes I say, oh, it's bored, or I don't see enough results, or, they'll be honest with you most of the time. And it's because they've stopped for whatever reason. And then, around that time is when they're going to struggle, or why they've struggled. So I think most people, they know if they do it, it's going to work, but they don't trust themselves to do it, which is the problem.
Yeah. It's that thing, isn't it? If you say you can, you're right. If you say you can't, you're also right.
Yeah.
Because it's what you tell yourself. Isn't it?
Yeah, that's all right. A big thing I learned is that it's about their perceived likelihood of success. It's not about how well you understand that your program works, because of course we're doing it thousands and thousands of hours all the time. But you can really explain it out to people and show people a perfect roadmap, but the reason why they won't sign up is because they still don't perceive your program getting them to the result. It was my last mentor. Look him up, Alex Hormozy. He runs this program called Gym Launch. He's incredible. He's the 42 grand program that we built the gym to, multiple 6-figure gym. Insane. One of the best mentorships we ever ran. And he's just brought out a book right now called $100 Million Offers. It's fantastic. I've got it right here. Let me actually show you, because this is amazing. This book right here, $100 Million Offers. It's let me get it focused. There we go.
Yeah, Hormozy. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I spelled that wrong.
He's got a YouTube channel as well, gives away loads of free advice. But anyway, he always talks about, he's got like a formula in this book, and it's about making your offer as compelling as possible. And a part of that formula is you must portray to the potential prospect their perceived likelihood of success is like super high and undeniable. So it's like, I know I'm kind of just talking in theory here. He explains it a lot better than I do. But if someone doesn't sign up with you, it's because they don't perceive your program getting them there. And it's often because your program doesn't solve one of their problems that they're not telling you, or they have a particular story that they think is unique that your program doesn't solve. So I think that's a point, little turning point that I reached, is that like, okay, I'm talking about muscle building and fitness and physique, but I'm not talking about the stories that the men are telling themselves. So if I can start talking about those things and showing that there's solutions for those things, their perceived likelihood of success with my program is going to be so much higher, because now my program isn't just a muscle building program. It's not just a fat loss program. It's a program that's going to help me build confidence in myself to have these conversations with my girlfriend and with my boss, maybe, or chase that business or follow this passion. And it's going to level me up as a man. So like I know that it's the confidence side of things that I need to tackle. I need to show and demonstrate that I can fix that side of them, because that's the stories, the self-limiting beliefs and stories that they are telling themselves. It's not that the program is going to make them build muscle or not. I'm tackling the other stuff that they're not telling me. Do you know what I mean? Check out that book. It's amazing.
Excellent. So I just had a question.
It's all about stories, isn't it? It's about the stories you tell yourself. And we the narratives, they're very powerful. There's a quote that I was talking to my wife brought up, because I was kind of getting myself into some self-limiting beliefs, and I was getting quite negative. And she said, there's that Buddhist story about the two wolves, and the one that survives is the one that you feed. And if you keep feeding these stories, they will just become more powerful, and they will they will be the definition of you. And you've got it takes quite a lot of self-awareness to put a stop on that kind of limiting self-talk. And it's not easy, because you get into a rhythm, and it's like a ball going down a hill. It's difficult to stop.
I like that. This is taking us full circle as well, actually, back to what Shaun was talking about at the beginning, because Paul's just said that. I had a chat with James before. I think it was the podcast we did that you weren't on, Paul. I had a chat with James, and I was getting the same way. 2022 is done the same to me. Like I said, and I was going one way, and I said to Shaun, my girlfriend, and I was like, I'm not going to make any decisions right now, because if I do, it'll be based on negative emotions, and I'm going to just bide my time. And then now, this was like 2 weeks ago or something like that, and actually I feel a lot better now, because I've just sat down and made a plan of what I'm going to do and not done anything immediately. And then I'm like, right, now I've got something to go forwards with for the next 6 months or something like that. So yeah, it works. And like you say, it's like I fed that wolf. I didn't feed the emotional wolf who's negative and going to go and get a few more beers and going to go and, go down that route and sit watching Love Island at 1 o'clock in the morning with a whiskey. I think that's quite funny, actually. It's one of those things. For some reason that's stuck in my head. I can imagine you sitting there doing it, thinking like every other day, thinking there's nothing wrong with this. This is fine. And then one day just going, what the hell am I doing?
It's funny, isn't it? Like, obviously, and there's obviously been other little trigger points that have happened maybe that day and week that led to that. But yeah. That's how it works. I think just a little point that you touched upon there, Peter, is I feel like a lot of the time we can be so erratic, and we're looking on social media and people are becoming millionaires overnight, and now you've got these lads who are 18 years old and got more gains than you have, and you've been training 10 times longer. And we live in a day and age of like the Amazon Prime era, where we want everything yesterday and we want everything so fast. And I feel like we can get a little bit erratic with our decisions. This is a conversation I've been having a lot with personal trainers in the gym recently, is like, just slow down. It's okay. Trust in yourself that you value growth as a person, like, and you value becoming more skilled at different areas of life. You value them, right? Yes. Okay, cool. So chill out. Trust in yourself. Have trust in yourself that this is probably just a bad day. Like next week, a few days later, maybe next month, you'll come out of it and you'll just go back to your set point, which is growing, improving your skills, making the right decisions, so on and so forth. A lot of the time, it's just taking a little chill and having faith and trust in yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, but you've got to value the growth first and the acquisition of skills.
I know exactly what you mean, and this is just brought it round to, how do you trust the program? How do you know you can trust the program? Because I even thought in my head at the time, I was like, what would I tell my guys to do? Because I'm going to be doing exactly what they're going to do. So what would I tell them not to do? Or what would I tell them to do? Or would I tell them to slow down? And, because this is the other thing you were saying. People think it's easy for trainers and all that. Like, you do this for a living, you do it all the time, you're very good. It's all right. It's like, yeah, but when you're in a certain headspace, that all goes out the window, and you have to try and that's when you were saying, be the example and live the life, live what you're trying to get other people to do. And then if you can prove for yourself that it works, it gives you the confidence that it works anyway. Because if you can't do it for yourself, all of a sudden you're like, well, why the hell should I be telling anyone else to do this? Because it's not going to work.
Yeah. It's like trust the process, isn't it? But like, clients don't know if the process actually truly works or not. So like, you've got to be able to draw it out of them and keep them consistent and just stay on them to keep going, to the point when they see results. Now they have a reference. Now they actually see that, oh, when I do these actions, I get this result. Now in the future, if I'm having a negative mindset and I'm struggling with motivation, like, I know that the process works because I've got reference for it. I done those 12 weeks. I got fantastic results. Now I'm having a bad few months, but it's okay. I know that I'm not doing the actions. So wait there, what do I need to do? I just need to do the actions. Like, so they have a reference point for it. So we understand to trust the process, but clients don't, because they actually don't know if the process works yet, because they haven't stuck to it long enough. So that's something I've got to try and focus on myself.
Yeah. So I mean, to kind of getting close to wrap up, but I just wanted to briefly touch on what I've liked about your YouTube videos is that you're not afraid to kind of look at contemporary questions that are in the media around fitness and have a viewpoint on them. We don't have to go into specific things, but what most of the time people will see something that's happening on This Morning or Cosmo or Men's Health or something like that and go, that's a load of crap, I can't be bothered with that. Why do you feel vocal about it? What's kind of getting you riled up? So you want to get behind the camera and you want to put it to bed.
Well, obviously, when I'm behind the camera as well, I just, little caveat, like, it is an exaggerated version of myself. Like, you've got to, because if I sit here, right, okay, so she said this, no one cares. So you've got to hype it up a little bit. We live in a day and age where attention is the new currency. And like, you have to be able to grab attention. We're within the TikTok era, where it's got to be boom, headline. Oh, I'm swiping off already. Like, people sit there on the phones. You've only got to look when you're on the train or the bus or walk around town, and people are like that. People are on nights out and are like that. No, like we live in this state, like everyone wants that instant dopamine hit, and it's all about who can capture attention the most. So that being said, that's why I want to use YouTube as a little bit more of my platform again and get back into that, because I know that I can play a little bit of a character but get me views across and be able to help people through trending topics, or the topic of the week or something like that. And I know that I tend to think a little bit differently in terms of, wait, everyone's saying this. Let me actually just look at the different perspective a second. Like, everyone just jumps on the bandwagon and is a sheep with a lot of thoughts these days. So
one thing, Shaun, just to say about that, because I wasn't aware of any of this before. We spoke about it before we started recording, but I noticed a number of people who I know who are trainers and things suddenly started posting this stuff about, oh, we've all got the same, people say we've all got the same 24 hours in a day, but really that's a load of rubbish because of this, because of this, because of this. And then it was only watching your take on it, which was where you went the opposite way, and you actually took the learnings out of it that I would have taken out of the comment, which was this Molly May Hague thing that she said, where everyone sort of jumped on the bandwagon and everyone started hating her and saying, it's easy for you to say that because, you're this, you're this, you're this. And you took a very different approach to it, which was really refreshing and far more in line with the thinking I would have taken from it. So I think it is, taking those current affairs kind of hot topics in the media and spinning them and taking a different view on them, I think is a really effective way to get, engagement and to create something different, isn't it?
Yeah, and we live like in the cancel culture. So like everyone's afraid to actually say, well, wait, did I actually think different? Like, so because you're going to get cancelled. But I feel like because I can't be cancelled, like what are people going to do to me? Like I've got my gym, that's fine. Like everyone's their own independent businesses in there and smash it as well. All the trainers are in there and they all have the same viewpoints. But like, so you can't cancel me. So what are you going to do? Dislike my video? Oh God, unfollow me. Like,
you can't even do that anymore. YouTube have removed that.
I know. So yeah, it's like but you know what though? You look at your real world examples. Like I, just come from a working class background and built myself up over 11 years. I had some girl comment on my Instagram and she was saying like, oh no, and I found this quite discriminatory. She said, oh, it's okay to say work hard, but what if you like and chase your goals? But I don't think you should chase your goals because you're going to fail. You're doomed for failure. Like if you're disabled and born into poverty. And I was like, hang on a sec, that's actually discriminating against disabled people. So if I've got a leg chopped off or whatever, or cerebral palsy or something like that, you're saying don't go for any goals. I can't do anything. That's a very negative, pessimistic viewpoint. I think what it is we went on a date when we were 16 and it didn't go anywhere for her and she's a little bit gutted. But like,
comment on the video.
Yeah, final point. I've seen my mum also, her and my dad went through a divorce when I was, I think, 13 or 14, and she was a librarian on £8,000 per year, bringing me and my sister up. And she eventually started doing a degree, a qualification in patient transport service, transferring patients from hospital to hospital, went up a little bit, and then eventually done a degree to become a paramedic, and is now like the top paramedic in like the leading manager in Aintree Hospital around the corner. And she's absolutely smashed it. And she's like, what, 55, 56. So I look at my mum and I'm like, there you go. My mum brought up 2 single kids, struggled. My sister was a pain in the backside. I love her, but she was a pain in the backside. And there's my example. Like, so when you sit there and say, oh, but I'm a single mum, I haven't got the same 24 hours in a day. It's like, I refuse to accept that because I've seen my mum like chase her goals and like still love us and give us the best upbringing that she could. So I just refuse to accept that negativity and that defeatist mindset.
That's an odd stance to take for that person to put a comment like that. That's weird.
Well, I think people can type faster than they think these days.
Well, yeah. I did like the one you did, Shaun, the Chris Hemsworth one where you found that bloke and you just typed on his YouTube. You were like, take this. And you were like, Chris Hemsworth says you've got crap legs.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
If you go on TikTok, everyone shames everyone's legs. So if you lift weights, and your legs aren't crazy massive, people go, oh, skip leg day. And like people were doing it with Chris Hemsworth and saying, oh, he skipped leg day. And then I Googled Chris Hemsworth legs and his legs are jacked. I'm like, what the hell? Well, I've got no chance then.
I was about to say, I might skip this topic and move on swiftly because if anyone's seen my legs,
No.
like currently like white lightsabers. So
I always think if people have got massive legs like that, I'll probably be able to outrun them.
Yeah. But I know you said avoid the jargon, but like, so if your calves are if you look at all sprinters have skinny calves because the higher up I'm sure you guys know, but like the higher up the calf muscle inserts and the longer the Achilles tendon, then the more springiness and explosiveness you have. So that's one thing I say. If anyone ever says I'm skinny legs, it's like, yeah, but I can do backflips and jump over people and kick it in the head and everything.
Where did I go wrong then? I've got a very skinny calf. Actually, no, the thing is sometimes you just can't, didn't Arnold Schwarzenegger, he struggled with his calves for years, didn't he? He had to work so hard for those.
You only had a 4-pack as well.
Yeah,
you did.
You only had a 4-pack, didn't you?
Yeah.
Exactly. You just kind of,
So I've figured it out. Actually, all I need to do is not eat for a week, and I'll have a better 6-pack than Arnold Schwarzenegger ever had in his life. There you go. You heard it here.
There you go.
Intermittent fasting for you then. Right. Well, I think it's a good place to wrap up. Actually, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think it was a great conversation. Really enjoyed it. It's just a great flow. So, I mean, Shaun, if someone's interested in training with you or just finding out more about what you do, what's the best route for them to contact you?
Yeah, you can either message me on Facebook. It's Shaun Jones. Type in Shaun Jones, and then it's the Natural Power Method. That's the name. That's the brand that I'm going with right now. Or on Instagram, Shaun Jones Online Coach. I've got Shaun J Fitness as well. That's just like where to share more personal thoughts. But yeah, Shaun Jones Online Coach, the Natural Power Method. If you type that in, the Natural Power Method's the program that help men. Basically, it started as a vehicle to help men build muscle naturally, hence the Natural Power Method. And it was all about strength training and power. But then I realized that message crosses over into unleashing your inner power and your inner confidence. I believe every man has got natural, inner, built physicality and mental power and fortitude. It's like being suppressed over the lives. So that's kind of what I am really on a mission to do, is try and bring out the physicality and the mentality side of things, the power in both. So yeah, Shaun Jones Online Coach, or the Natural Power Method.
And what about your YouTube chat? Is it every Thursday and Sunday you put out videos or something?
I was doing that, and then I lost my cadence just when we were trying to get the gym back up and running. But I'm just probably going to be releasing a video a week. It's going to either be probably every Thursday and Friday, or it's once a week, probably like every Friday.
But you've got a back catalogue there anyway for people to look through, because it's really good. So yeah. I'll put that in as well.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I'm gonna make it a weekly thing because I feel like I can push that. So yeah, probably a video once a week. But if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see when I post on YouTube. So yeah.
It sounds like 2022 is going to be a good year for you, and you've got a lot of things. You've got some decent momentum and a really positive outlook, which I think. I feel, despite even myself, just my own final thoughts, 2021, you thought it was going to be I thought it was going to be an easier year than 2020 because there's less disruption, but it became more challenging in different ways. And it was easy for me to get into some of these kind of negative thought patterns. And I've had some ups and downs and some frustrations and things like that. And I really had a bit of clarity myself about how do I take control of my mental perspective and be less. I just feel like I'm the English weather, just changing all constantly. drizzling and then mild blasts of sunshine. And it's good to hear you talk about all these things, because they are. How do we define ourselves? How do we? Who are we actually? I mean, you asked that question right at the beginning. The person I thought I was this, and this, and then all these things happened to me, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, is that me? And I think it's probably sometimes. I mean, I've had that in the past. I had that when I was in my 20s, but there's no reason that you're going to be immune to it consistently through your life. It's not like a vaccine, you do have to keep confronting things, new situations. And I'm interested in what 2022 will bring for me. And it's just great to hear your story and what you've done. I'm going to listen back to this podcast and nick a few of your things in my own way I talk to people. and for my own kind of mindset as well. But Peter, what are you thinking? Are you got any final thoughts?
Sorry, Paul, can I just add one little thing onto that? I just wanted to say that I think one thing I've found a lot of peace in, and this is probably some good advice to anyone listening or watching, is no matter how good of a support system that you have, good parents, good girlfriends, whatever it might be, ultimately it still boils down to you sorting yourself out. It really does. Like, because my girlfriend couldn't come in and force me to stop drinking the whiskey. Like, she can't force me to do the business. Like, so a lot of people might see that as a very like pessimistic, maybe depressing reality, but it's not. You want to take comfort in it because it's easier to control yourself than it is to control other people. So stop getting down and depressed in the dumps that no one is helping you and no one cares. You care about yourself and fix it yourself. You can control yourself better than other people, and then that energy will spread out accordingly. So no matter how good of a support system, it doesn't matter. You still have to do it yourself, and that's good. That's a comforting reality. It's not a depressing reality. It's comforting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Pete.
Yeah. I'm not going to add to that. No, I like that. And the thing I like is like you say, you're kind of walking a line, but you're not really. You're walking a line that has been put there, and a line that keeps edging the way that you're going to be on the wrong side of it at some point, because it's not you that's changed your view and what you're talking about and your kind of like your passion for helping people. The line moves. So what is politically correct, it changes, doesn't it? So yeah. But I don't necessarily think you're saying anything controversial. I think you're just telling the truth, or your truth, of what you believe is, So I think that's sometimes that's what people need to hear.
My mentor said, sorry, I kept interjecting. My mentor always said, you need to stand for something. You really, really need to stand for something. Otherwise, you just end up blending in with everyone else. You need to make some noise. And with that is going to come criticism. There's going to come haters. It's because you're standing for something. If you just say, oh, weight loss for men, no one cares. No one cares. But if you stand for something and have a message and put a bit of conviction behind it, there'll be a group of people who really resonate with that, who then you can actually truly help. So that's something that all personal trainers need to actually think about, is what do you truly stand for that is different? What's your unique message? So, yeah.
James.
What about the unique results?
Well, I was just going to say, actually, the on the point you just said, I remember someone said to me once, if your message isn't clear enough to turn off the people you don't want, it's not going to be clear enough to attract the people you do want. So you mustn't be afraid to turn away or to upset people that you're not looking to talk to, because if so, you'll be too vanilla, like you say, and you won't, you'll just blend in with everyone else. So no, that's fantastic. No, it's been great. It's only the last few days that I've really looked at your stuff, Shaun, and I love it. And I've just followed you on with the social media things, and it's been great talking to you for this last hour and a bit. And it's it's been a refreshing, flowing conversation. It's a great way to kind of kick off 2022. So thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed the conversation as well. I love talking about this stuff.
So you guys have been listening to Health Oddity. As ever, please like and subscribe to the channel, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and all the other ones that I can't even remember. Deezer. Does anyone listen to Deezer anymore? I'm sure they do.
I don't know if we're on Deezer.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Deezer, yeah. I mean, Tidal. There's all these other things. I don't know if they do podcasts, but I'm sure that it goes out to those things anyway. So please do subscribe. And if you haven't done a review, we'd love a review, because, it tells us whether or not we're doing things correctly. And we've got a Facebook group as well called the Health Oddity group. I guess I don't think we became too creative with the name. But look, thanks for listening. Next week, we'll have another great guest. And we look forward to telling you our stories. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favourite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com, or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.